Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Darkrai. He's currently shedding right now, and this is his enclosure, which we just got all cleaned out for him. So this video is going to be all about how to care for reticulated pythons. Darkrai is shedding right now, so he's taking a nice little bath, and you guys can kind of see what that looks like. So snakes are not, this is a common misconception. People will look at snakes and think that they're oily or slimy, and they're actually not. He only looks shiny like that right now because he has a translucent layer of skin that's dead that needs to shed off, and then underneath that he has his beautiful shiny skin, which has essentially like crystals in it. That's how he is able to shine with that rainbow shimmer. But his head, I think he might have already shed out while he was in his enclosure, so he looks really clean up there. He's currently 6 feet. At just under 2 years old, he'll be... Wait. I'm just now realizing this while filming Darkrai's video. His second birthday is tomorrow. He turns 2 years old tomorrow. I just got new food for him. He has these big rats now, that are like actually probably just as thick as his body. So tomorrow on his second birthday, he's gonna be the happiest snake on the planet. Anywho, let's get back into the video and learn more about reticulated python. By the time he's done growing at the age of like 5, well, at least for his growth spurt, reticulated pythons will have a growth spurt from the day they're born up until turning 5 years old. They're growing very quickly, and then when they turn 5, their metabolism kind of slows down. They stop growing as fast, but they do grow for life. It's just very small, like it's less than an inch a year, probably for a male his size. So right now, the enclosure that he's in, we're currently sitting over the bath, by the way. I haven't talked about this. He's currently taking a bath because he's shedding. He can slither out whenever he wants to. This is his enclosure. It's a 3 foot by 3 foot enclosure, so it's pretty big, and he can climb all up on this. He has a nice little hide in there, his water dish. It's a perfectly sized enclosure for him right now. As he gets bigger, we're gonna have to change him into something a little bit bigger. When he reaches, so I'm assuming he was sold to me as a dwarf. However, as a baby, he was much smaller than any like super dwarf baby. When he first came out of the egg, he was like, I'm assuming he came out of a boob egg, but he was super small. And he's actually been growing like a weed lately, and so I assume he could reach up to 12 feet. That's they say like 8 to 13 for a dwarf. With him being a male, I assume it'll probably be closer to 8, but he's 2 years old right now. He's growing for another 3 years old, and he's already 6 foot long when he's all stretched out, which we will get him stretched out and get you guys a better view of him. I don't want to keep it all the same, but of course, we want to let him shed and do his thing. Queen right now is 13 feet. She kind of takes up this entire bedroom when she's all stretched out. However, if you're keeping a snake in an enclosure, I don't think they need to constantly stretch out like this. Like if you watch a wild snake, they kind of just curl up in a ball, and she'll just kind of hide in there in this tiny little box. The only reason she's stretched out like this right now is because I like kind of moved her a little bit, kind of like asked her to, and she was going with it today. She doesn't always go with it, and I just kind of let her do her thing if she doesn't want to do it. But she let me stretch her out today, but normally they just kind of hide. They find a spot. She likes this corner too, and this hide. She'll just kind of curl up and just sit there for days on end. She doesn't really like to stretch out that much. So as long as you're taking your snakes out at least like I'd say 1 to 3 times a week, varying quite a bit, then they're getting enough enrichment. So how I do the math of how big the enclosure needs to be for a snake is I take the length of them divided by 2 So let's say Darkrai reaches 12 feet. She's currently 13. That would be just under that. Then we'd want an enclosure that's at least 6 by 2. So on the floor. So they have at least 12 square feet of space that they could kind of like stretch out most of their body, do a little slithering around, decide which side of the enclosure they want to be on. If they are in that situation, whereas they have the square footage of the length of themselves. Now remember, just because she's 13 feet, she doesn't take up 13 square feet. I'm not saying put your snake in an enclosure that they take up every inch of. She's thinner than a foot wide, so she only takes up like half as much space. She realistically only takes up like 2 by 2, like 4 square feet of space when she's all curled up. That's my philosophy on it. But like I said, make sure they're getting lots of enrichment if you're keeping them in those conditions. For a reticulated python's bedding, I personally recommend paper because it'll let you know sooner than any other bedding if any issues arise. If they stop pooping or they, whatever the case may be, whatever issues you run into, paper is reliable. It'll always let you know. So that's my philosophy on bedding, especially with something like a retic. Like he's not gonna burrow. He's the kind of snake that he likes his little hide, but for the most part, he likes to be out. He likes to climb. He likes to come over into this corner on his cold side because the heat pad is under that red paper. Yeah, like I said, to keep a reticulated python, you definitely want to hide for them. The next thing you want to make sure you have for them is a water dish. All living things need water. It's full. I don't know why I can't see. When the light was on, you could see it better. There is water in there. And that'll help keep the humidity up, but they also need it to drink, although snakes get most of their water from the food they eat. So one thing you need to know that may come up now that I'm talking about water and I'm on the water dish is about regurgitation. If for any reason you ever scare your snake after feeding, on the day we do the feeding, I'll tell you a little bit more about, on his birthday actually tomorrow. I'm excited about it. Feel free to drop a happy birthday in the comments down below. But if they ever regurgitate, hydration is very important. If they ever throw up their food, they need to have lots of water. So a reticulated python's temperature should never drop below 70 degrees for more than like a half hour to play it safe, because they're cold-blooded animals. Their metabolism depends on heat in order to work. They say a snake's body will shut down after 2 hours of being outside of their lowest temperature. So it's something you really don't want to play with. His low side gets down to like 75, and then the hot spot gets to 92 degrees, and it's right under the red. So like his hide is kind of on the heat pad, kind of off is where I put it whenever I clean his enclosure. But he's very smart. What he wants is what he wants, and he will move that hide around where he needs it to be to warm up. For his humidity, you're gonna want to keep it, well, so it's kind of complicated. You want to know that they're from the rainforest, so they're gonna have humidities between like 50, 80 sometimes. So our house regularly will fluctuate between like 50 or 30% to 50%. Our house will regularly fluctuate from 30 to 50% humidity because we live near a large body of water. So we don't really have to spray him too often. It's probably like once every other day. I'll give him a nice little spray down, and then you want to make sure they have times where they're not super wet. You want to let that humidity evaporate, do its thing, and then spray them down again, kind of like keeping up with it. If you don't live near a large body of water, chances are you're going to have to spray every day or multiple times a day. You might want to get an automatic mister. So right now he's shedding, so he needs it very high. And when he's not shedding, it can get kind of down to like that 50%. You don't really have to spray him as much. But when he's shedding, you kind of want to spray like every day. For the part of the video where I talk about his personality, I did want to get him out to show you that he's not a villain. Now, he has bitten me out of fear before, but that is not the same as aggression. People can sometimes try and villainize snakes, say that they're aggressive. I would not say that Darkrai is an aggressive snake by any means. He loves me, he respects me, but sometimes he forgets that I am me, I think. So he can get pretty skittish, and when I first take him out of the enclosure, he won't really know what's going on all the time. So he may try and bite me. I have this snake hook. You guys have seen me use the snake hook with Chimera. You know what I'm talking about. She might be in this video later, who knows. If she's not, go look at my channel. I have a Western Diamondback that's a venomous rattlesnake. Fully loaded. She has her fangs and her venom glands. That's messed up to take them. And I do tail her. So that's pretty cool. Feel free to check that out. But he's not an aggressive snake. He's a very good boy. He is going through puberty right now, and I think I've heard that can make them more aggressive. I've heard that male retics have more intense teeth. I tried to do more research into that, like snakes, like reticulated pythons fighting in the wild. I couldn't find much, but one of my heroes is Brian Barshak. But he was a very smart man, and he knew a ton about reptiles. He always said that male retics in the wild do fight, and that they go through like a mating season type thing where they're more aggressive. So if you take a female and a male who are the exact same size, let's say you find an older female who's 6 foot and a younger male who's 6 foot, because females get bigger. The male's teeth, he said, would be more intense, and they're kind of like more recurved, because male retics will actually fight in the wild. You just gotta know your snake, you just gotta learn how to work with them. There's tons of tips and tricks that I hope to convey over the time working with my snakes, but I will redirect him sometimes if he's ever bitey. If you're ever holding a snake and it tries to bite you, as long as it's not venomous, of course, and it's your pet, you want to kind of continue to work with them. You don't want that session to end there after him trying to bite me. So I'll like redirect him with my hand and kind of show him, like, not only am I holding you, so if you bite me I could drop you, but also I have this full range of motion. And he typically settles down after that and realizes that I'm just here to hang out with him, have a good time, teach you guys. Well, we got quite a bit of it here. Sorry, but he's still not done shedding, so I guess we're gonna have to put him in another bath, really up the humidity in his enclosure. He's chilling like a little villain. I think he's exhausted. He's tired of trying to shed. It's been a lot for a day for a snake, but we'll give him a nice big meal tomorrow and help him come back from his exhaustion and pump out the rest of the shed. Stay tuned. So for a snake this size, it's his second birthday actually. He just turned 2 years old. He's gonna need 2. That's the size of the thickest part of his body once a week. Add the food for any other snakes you gotta feed and then fill it with hot water. So it's feeding time. He knows, he's already getting excited. A rat this big, I like to let them thaw out for an hour and a half. And it is feeding time. Let's see what he does. Typically he's very crazy, but this light's shining. Oh my god. Sometimes when the light's on him, he likes to settle down. Today, he was still feeling crazy. So I also recommend using a trash can to feed. If your mouse is dripping and you have to carry it anywhere, he's getting excited. And that'll be enough for him for a week. And then, yeah,